It's good to listen to brain music in 40 hertz. It's been shown that within 7 days there are impact on the brain for cognitive functioning, to increase memory and focus.
That's Yuval Ron. He's composing music for brain health, from sharp thoughts to a harmonious state of mind. But can music really change the brain? We are going on a musical journey to find out. Welcome to Brain in Progress. I'm Seema Mathur, a medical journalist and brain champion. When we hear this, our brain tells us to feel suspense. That's from Jaws. Switch to this soundtrack by Yuval, a mystical calm. Yuval has been in tune with the power of music on the mind since the start of his career nearly 40 years ago.
When I studied to compose music for film, it was mandatory to study the science of psychoacoustics. So psychoacoustic is a science that deals with why do we feel certain things when we hear certain musical rhythms or musical notes. Why our brain is interpreting certain musical effects as certain psychological ideas and emotions. And what you find that the psychoacoustics principles around the world are beyond cultures. I scored TV and film for 15 years. And then 2001, the second intifada in Israel exploded. I thought about the place where I came from, and all the violence there really bothered me. And I thought, what could I do? Little me in Los Angeles, what could I do? And I researched the music of the Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians in the Middle East for years. And I can point to the meeting places, to the things that are similar, showing people that we can create harmony and beauty. And that was my way to contribute to the voice of peace, to show people that we can do it. We can do it in music. Why can't we do it in politics?
Yuval created a musical ensemble and began touring the world. In 2009, I was reporting from Morocco, and he caught my ear. So Yuval, I'm so excited that you're here. I think about the time that we first met back in Morocco in 2009, and what an incredible experience it was. Yeah. And I was covering the Fez Festival of World Sacred Music and saw you play, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the band I'm profiling.
Yes, I remember right after our concert, your crew, I think it was CNN crew, and you just took me and my lead singer, and you kidnapped us, and we didn't know. We were supposed to go to a press conference with all the media, but you guys got us and took us way to the other corner of the garden for an interview. That was how we met. It was very amazing.
I had to kidnap you because it was so good. I'll never forget in that interview when you were playing the oud and you told me all over the world that the same note was used to express joy and sorrow, and that really stuck with me.
Yeah, the different musical modes in the Middle East, regardless of religion and nationality, all the people choose the same musical mode to express joy or lament or celebration or sense of longing or pain or love or nostalgia. So I pointed to the building blocks in the music that is the humanity of all the people is in the music, regardless of the boundaries and flags and religions and all that.
And so how did you go from creating music to bridge political differences, to heal people politically, to then creating music to heal the body?
I was approached by Dr. Richard Gold, one of the pioneers of Chinese medicine in America. And he asked me if I could write music to invoke the energies of the elements of Chinese medicine and Qigong. I was familiar with Chinese medicine from my own experience as a patient, and I was really into it. And I created an album called Six Healing Sound, and that was such a big hit with the acupuncturist community in America and all over the world. And then Dr. Gold told me, you know what, the Chinese medicine music project was so successful, I'd like to talk with you about doing an Ayurvedic medicine.
Ayurveda is a traditional form of medicine from India that's estimated to go back some 5,000 years. To simplify, it's believed that when the body's energy goes out of balance, health problems can arise, and that there are three primary energies called doshas that we all possess: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Yuval began composing music to balance these. And Yuval Ron, who I fondly remembered for making music to bring peace to the world, was now bringing peace to my mind when I needed it the most. In 2015, I had a bleed in my brain. I had brain surgery. After, it felt like I was battling an invisible war inside my head. When I was lying there recovering and scrolling to try to find music, and I saw Yuval Ron Ayurvedic dosha music and music for Vata, and I was like, "What? What is this?" I thought he was just, peace, peace activist.
Yes.
I started listening to it, and it was amazing. I listened to it religiously, especially the Vata one, and I could feel it helping me. I could feel the healing impact of it, and it was so powerful. And that's why I'm so excited now, even now years later, to bring you on and talk about that.
I was told by the doctors that they don't wish me to just invoke the energies of the doshas. They want me to balance the doshas. So, for example, Vata, that is cold air and would be really invoked by the flute, which is very airy. I use the flute in order to kind of, make
Draw you in.
kind of draw me in, right? And
Yeah.
to lure the Vata in
Yeah, yeah.
with the flute. But then there's the Armenian duduk woodwind, which is an Armenian oboe that has a very dark and warm sound and much more earthy than the flute. And so those two elements worked in conversation. Vatas are full of ideas. They're full of ideas, but they're not earthy and they're not fiery. They're dreamers, and they're not so much in the reality. And the duduk brought it to the reality. So each track in this project had the plus and the minus.
See, that's amazing because you were able to, one, research to understand the doshas, and then you connected with your expertise the musical instrument that would connect to that. And I'm more Vata, so I think I fell for it. I fell for
Yeah.
the flute first
Right.
to lure me in. I always feel when I listen to that I feel more balanced.
Right.
So yeah, so it worked.
Yeah.
So now it's like a whole different style of healing music that you have begun to create, more specifically targeted to the brain, using 40 hertz. And before we go into all of it, can you define what is 40 hertz?
Yes, so 40 hertz means 40 vibration a second. It's a very fast vibration. It's amazing. This vibration has so much impact in the brain.
An MIT study first using light and sound simulation at 40 hertz gamma frequency is showing promising results, clearing amyloid and other proteins associated with Alzheimer's from the brains of mice. In smaller human studies, slower cognitive decline was noted. This caught the attention of the integrative practitioners Yuval has been working with.
So the doctors that invited me to work on it said, there's these studies in MIT that are showing incredible impact of 40 hertz vibration on clearing the memory pathways.
And some of the things I was looking at in mice that they documented was it caused certain brain cells to release a chemical that boosted the brain's natural cleaning system.
Yeah.
And that's how, getting rid of some of the toxins.
Right.
But why does the 40 hertz
Yeah.
cause these brain cells to release the chemical
Yeah.
that does the work? So
and
it's
another sound doesn't. So first I needed to tune all the instrument lower than normal.
it's tone and it's vibration and frequency. Is that
Yes,
right? All into one?
exactly. It's all one. all the 40 hertz tracks are for cognitive functioning, to increase memory and focus. There's a way to use it for sleep, but it's not the frequency, it's not the brainwave speed for sleep, because we don't, when we sleep, we need to go really to slow speed, and the 40 hertz is fast speed. So, but they found, interestingly enough, in Stanford University, they did a study where they played 40 hertz tone to people 3 hours before they went to sleep, and they showed that improved the quality of the sleep. Some people sleep better when they do some physical activity, intense, like they run or jog or walk after dinner, then you sleep better. There's something about getting your brain 3 hours before sleep, getting your brain to that 40 hertz vibration, which is a fast vibration for focus and brain activity and memory. And then it helps you to be really ready 3 hours later to let go. And your brain is saying, oh, I'm happy. I had that fitness 3 hours ago. I can slow down well to sleep.
The 40 hertz is embedded in the melody, the bass, as well as a third layer that your brain interprets only through headphones.
When you put the headphones on, there's something called binaural beats, which we embedded in those tracks. We're sending one tone through one ear, a different tone through the other ear, and the brain receives two different tones. And you know what? There's a third tone that's being created only in the brain of the listener. It starts vibrating in like a ping pong. Like a little ping pong start to occur in between those two vibrations.
When they merge together, is that adding up to 40 hertz in the brain?
Exactly. If we hear slow music, we feel like moving to dance slow, let's say. When we hear fast moving music, we feel like tapping, clapping my hands to the beat. We have this tendency to synchronize to an external beat. We don't know why, but it probably has to do with evolution. It probably has to do with, the people who succeeded to survive had this ability to synchronize around a drum beat or a chant, or, and elephants do that. Elephants synchronize to a beat. If you give them a beat, they start walking on the beat. You change the beat, they change their walking. Birds do some synchronization to external beat. So our brain, thankfully, have this natural tendency. We feed to the brain a certain pulsation. The brain wants to synchronize itself to it.
That makes a lot of sense and actually explains a lot in how the 40 hertz works. It's because the brain's reflex of synchronizing.
Right. Synchronizing
to it.
To external beat, to an external pulsation. And synchronizing to that beat creates various therapeutic impact in the brain. We found out that 40 hertz cause the cleaning crew to start clean again, the plaque that sits on the memory pathways. It's amazing.
Amazing. So if you play 40 hertz at home, will your partner start cleaning the house? Does it work like that too?
I wish it would work like this.
I know. In your compositions of 40 hertz, you have so many different genres that you have it in. So why all these different versions?
The doctors called me one day and they say, we think we need more music in other styles, because what if somebody doesn't like Indian sitar? What if
Then what's wrong with them? No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. No, kidding.
If somebody likes jazz piano, let's give them jazz piano in 40 hertz. If somebody likes choral music, let's give them an album of choral music. Or classical piano music, or hip hop, like chill hop. There's one album for teenagers and college kids who like to listen to something called chill hop. So we did one in that style. So we've done 7 or 8 albums so far, and the next 40 hertz project, which sits on my desk and waiting for me very patiently for a year now, is, you're not going to believe it, but the doctors want me to do a country western album
Uh-huh.
in 40 hertz.
Why not? Why
Why
not two-step to
not?
40 hertz?
Why not? You
Yeah.
know,
What do you suggest is the best way to listen to get the therapeutic effects?
it's good to listen with headphones for 40 to 60 minutes a day. It's been shown that within 7 days there are impact on the brain.
For people that are listening to this and learning about it, it's like it's a therapeutic way to help, right? You still
Right.
need all of the medical intervention
Yeah,
that's there, but this can help. I can only speak for myself in that I like to say that Western medicine saved my life and Eastern heals me. And so, I found the great brain surgeon, but I use the music along to help with the
recover.
cognition and help
Yeah.
me to heal.
Seema, what I try to do every day, 5 days a week, when I go to my studio in the beginning of the day, I turn on the computer, I put on headphones with one of my albums of 40 hertz. I just listen to it and I do my emails. I do the business thing. I reply to my assistant. I tell them what to do today. And then after 40 minutes or so, I take off the headphones and I start working on the music, on the composition or something. But I try to use that email time in the beginning of the day to just oil up and do preventative treatment with 40 hertz therapy for my own brain.
Have you seen that 40 hertz has optimized your brain or optimized your creativity in creating music?
I feel it's energizing. I feel very alive and focused and energized after I hear it. And when
Mhm.
I do it on a regular basis, I feel that impact. But I don't know what percentage of my daily yoga and meditation and the good food that I eat and the happy attitude and optimistic attitude that I have contribute. But I think my brain health is particularly benefiting from this 40 hertz as a preventative measure. I lecture without notes. I teach in universities with no notes. It's all coming from here, and I feel in good shape.
We also know the power of music on the brain. When you think about, too, that people, their memories may fade with dementia, but they can remember the lyrics to songs. So, like your brain has probably benefited in so many ways from being such a multi-versed musician.
Listening to music and surrounding yourself with music is very positive. There's a lot of documentation of that. But
Mhm.
making music, it's even more healthy for the brain because it's very complex task. There's motoric thing, there's coordination, there's emotion, there's thinking, there's math. Music is math.
Right.
Your brain is calculating all the time.
I think it's about the brain using different parts together. And
Yeah,
then maybe in remembering lyrics, that resonates in different parts of the brain plus your emotions.
right.
So I think that all of that has that bigger impact.
Yes.
When we were talking about the intelligence of musicians through music, do you think that there's an age you have to start to get all those kinds of benefits?
Well, I think learning something as a kid is a lot faster and easier and deeper than in other ages. But that doesn't say that, if somebody is determined, if somebody wants to learn to play the cello when they are 40 or 80, they can do it at any age. You do it in your own speed, you do it slower. But the best is to start young, to get the kids to learn an instrument, and then it's a treasure they have for the rest of their lives.
It really is. I mean, what a treasure. And then it's like setting up the brain for success,
Yeah,
really. Like the younger you start. But as we get older, it is a great way to exercise the brain.
it's never too late. The first benefit is if you just listen to music. That's passive. That has benefit. Then the second level is making music by yourself. And then the ultimate level is making music with people. Then that's the greatest fitness. This is the best gym, the hardest gym for your brain, and the most benefit.
So, how do you think that music impacts the subconscious?
So in music performance, it can come in, and also in composition. When I compose, I try to let go and let something come through me, and in a way, if I hear a certain sound or a certain combination in my head and I feel really, I didn't think it, I didn't develop it, I didn't intellectually figure it out.
So do you think it's inspiration? Like inspiration comes through the subconscious mind?
Right, so we call it inspiration, the muse. We don't know what to call it, the inner voice, the golden thread. It's very interesting. An artist, deep artists always deal with that. It's mysterious, it's difficult to understand and to control. But I believe that it's partly the subconscious mind coming through. It's something from the storage of our experience. And Jung said that there's collective subconscious beyond your life. So if your ancestors experienced something and it was in their subconscious and it went through the genes to their kids and it got to your subconscious, so that's the collective subconscious, that we may have things from before our lives that is still part of our subconscious that we could draw on. I may feel, look, I had a really good childhood. I didn't have any trauma in my childhood, and I thought to myself, when I was 16, I admired John Lennon and Bob Dylan. I read about their life, and I saw that they had terrible childhood traumas. All the artists that I admired, I read, they all had broken homes and terrible life and trauma. And I thought to myself, when I was 16, you know what, Yuval, you have no chance to be an artist because so
Where's the trauma?
and then in my music there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of pain and drama. I gravitate towards dramatic. In my film music, in my theater music, in my ensemble programs, I do always bring some darkness and some deep pain, expression of pain. And you think to yourself, where is it from? It's beyond just my life. It's perhaps a collective subconscious of my ancestors that speaks through me, and I can express it through music.
So if you were going to prescribe music, so you're like the music doctor, and you're going to prescribe music for someone's brain. Let's just say, okay, I want to be able to wake up calm, and then I want to be able to listen to music that's going to help me focus and be creative. And then, I want good brain health. Like, what would you say
Yeah,
out of your
sure.
music? Like, what do I need to
Yeah.
listen to?
Well, I would make a combination of the Vata for morning stretching and morning routine of doing some kind of a physical. It can be a yoga or stretching, something to just get out of bed and stretch and do something good for your body, so your body feels good. Any body work. And then I would do a listening experience of one of the 40 Hertz albums for brain health. And then I would use the 6 Healing Sounds or the Chakras, Voyage
Hmm.
through the Chakras. That's a double album of guided meditations and music of the chakras. And there's 7 different chakras, and you can listen to different tracks depending on what you need that day.
Hmm.
And there's the album called 6 Healing Sounds, which comes from Qigong and Chinese medicine. And I would listen to that once a day while, preparing dinner or before going to sleep. It's very calming. So that would be a really nice day of music for wellness.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it.
All right.
Okay. I also want to know, where does your drive come from to compose all this music for healing?
I'm thinking about this uh, as part of my desire to increase world peace, and as I worked with my ensemble to promote peace around the world, and especially between Israelis and Palestinians and Turks and Armenians and Arabs and Jews and Muslims, Christians and Muslims around the world and Jews, I've done this for 25 years. At a certain point in the last 10, 15 years, I start doing more music for healing and wellness and work with healers and doctors and neuroscientists. And I feel that through this, I'm contributing not to world peace or peace between two neighborhoods or two tribes or two religions, but it's about peace and wellness within each person. And I feel that this is another way, and maybe the best way. And the real way is to create peace by creating peace and health in each individual first, before we deal with the whole communities and nations and tribes and countries, which is a lot more complicated. And so, in a way, my work for peace, music for peace and music for healing, I see it as one arc, as one work, and that keeps driving me.
Yeah, and that really just brings us back full circle because, when I first met you, it was
Right.
the music to bridge gaps between political differences, and now this healing music that can heal the mind, make people healthy, and then, when you think about it, it's like, who are these groups that might be fighting with each other? They're made up of individuals.
Right.
And so healing the person, healing the mind, making it the mind more peaceful and optimized, well, maybe then that individual that makes up the group can negotiate better because it starts with their brain
Right.
operating in a peaceful, healthy way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really beautiful, and it's like, talk about, making a difference with the individual that
Mhm.
then becomes larger for people
Right.
that are listening to this and feel so overwhelmed with so many issues going on in the world, and you think, "Well, what can I do to fix it?" Well, actually fixing yourself
Right.
and your own mind, you're going to be a contributor to the world in a more positive
Exactly.
way.
Exactly. And Gandhi said that, and the Dalai Lama said that. Actually, the Dalai Lama gave me a little charm to wear that says, start with creating peace in your own self. That's the first step towards peace. So, yeah, I think this is the message and this is the work.
This episode was created with producer Julie Canfor, editor Mike Sines, sound engineer Katie McMurrin, social media Ashita Patel, original music by Yuval Ron. In future episodes, we go into the lab and talk to the scientists to find out how music impacts the brain. Please remember, the health information shared on this podcast is not a substitute for individualized medical care. Please always consult with your doctor. Links to additional content, all our podcasts and social media platforms can be found at brainandprogress.com. That's also where you can contact us and find sponsorship and membership information, which enables us to continue our work. Thank you for joining the quest. This is Seema Mathur with Brain in Progress.